Alrighty, the second phase of patch 5.8 is here, technically the very last phase of the official Nutlin patch before we head into Notcry. Exciting character of Mualani and Chasca being back. Now, I don't think this two character has had their rerun, so some of you may be considering pulling for them, some of you may not, which is why we always have this kind of discussion video looking into the banner themselves. If you're new to the channel guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as it is a free way to support me, and with that, let us just dive right in. Loma and Flint, as well as so many other amazing Notcry character, is coming pretty soon, and I know that many of you are trying to get them. So if you're planning to swipe for pooling, then don't forget to check out Loot Bar. If you know me, I've been recommending you guys Loot Bar before, since you can always save almost a 25% on all of your top-ups. With over 100,000 orders and so many good reviews at this point, and by the way, this also applies to PS5 and Xbox user who can place orders through Loot Bar. You can be sure that Loot Bar is trustworthy. Here you can see my order receipts of all of my top-ups that I have done. And for those who are going for the highest package when topping up, there's also a limited discount options available once every version. So guys, be sure to check out Loot Bar through the link in my description, as it can be a great way for you to save your money, especially if you are topping up a large amount. Alright, first off we have our lovely bright and shining Mualani. Man, she's definitely just a sweetheart, especially if you've been through the recent event holiday quest. But for Mualani as the character herself, obviously I just have to put it straight, is that she is a hyper carry, so of course it is down to a very much personal preference. Now for me personally, I like Mualani as a character, but her gameplay is definitely not made for me. She feels a little bit clunky to play pretty much a lot of the times. You do have to manage her Night Soul point quite a bit, because if you do dash during her combo rotations, then there are going to be the potential of you not getting her third Shark Bite, which is a huge DPS loss. However, when it comes to her DPS potential as a whole, she is still one of the better DPS character out there in the game, doing insane high vaporize damage. So yes, even though we have quite a lot of Hydro DPS or hyper carry at the current point, Mualani is still pretty much competitive. However, the thing is with Mualani is that she is technically locked in a vaporized team, whereas other Hydro hyper carries like Novelet for example can technically fit in most of the Hydro reaction team comps. Mualani is just made for vaporize at the current point, and up until now her team is just still pretty much the same. So yes, there aren't too much to discuss about the potential of Mualani herself, because I'm pretty sure if you guys are interested into her, you'll probably already know how well she is going to be as a character. But then obviously if you are a bit on the fence of whether or not to pull for her if you don't have Mualani, thinking a bit about if you're lacking in Hydro characters, want a bit of a meta character to help you out for the team, then yeah, you might want to think a bit about that, because first of all, there is, Novelet, who is generally better than Mualani herself, but not to mention Notcry characters are coming. There are so many of them, and I'm pretty sure many of which are going to be doing insanely good numbers. In the Hydro categories, the potential of Columbina being Hydro character that is really good is decently high. So yes, do think about that a bit whenever you are investing into Mualani, but of course, as I've mentioned, if you are already really liking Mualani as a character, then yeah, I think she's still a unique character in terms of playstyle. Having a bit of a fun serving shark biting on the field is generally kind of nice, which obviously comes down to your decisions. Now for those of you who already have Mualani herself, you might be thinking about investing a bit into her constellations. Now I won't be going through all of her constellation, just discussing her first two, where her C1 and C2 are generally really good in terms of increasing her damage. While it doesn't really do much else other than increasing her damage, a bit of quality of life increase here and there. But if you really want your Mualani to do higher nuke Shark Bite numbers, then yes, it is going to be a lot better. So a rather good stopping point if you are looking into it. But while again, do think about it, because future really nice characters are coming as well. Moving on, we have our lovely Chasca. What else can I say of her being quite a unique bow character, because even though she's using a damn bow, she's surprising your freaking enemy with a gun cannon. For me personally, I think Chasca is one of the easiest characters in the game to play. Like honestly, you don't have to think too much about her, you just first off start with her elemental burst, have her go into the sky, and then do charge attack with different element. The only important thing about Chasca is you do want to have different element character onto her team of Pyro, Cryo, Electro, and Hydro. The other element doesn't really work on her, and then she's just going to do the rest of her pretty fun little elemental reactions, bomb popping on the field. Now, even though the reactions doesn't seem to be quite consistent, which, you know, technically it isn't, but the overall DPS numbers of Chasca is, I would still say, one of the better character out there in the game. She manages it, especially when it comes to content with a shield situation where you're not having the specific type of character to deal with the shield. Having Chasca team being in those kind of floors in the abyss, for example, does help you quite significantly. And moreover, Chasca isn't just good when it comes to damage number, but she is one of the best overworld character to travel around, especially, well, yeah, in Natlan most of the time, but she can still help you quite a bit in other regions. Well, I mean, sometimes I would love Chasca to have more flying time in the other regions, just like how she is in Natlan, but well, it is what it is. For Chasca as an Anemo character, I really do like her. I would approve her as one of the better and more fun character to play around with, even though she is just very easy and it's pretty much a brain dead team whenever you're using her. But overall, again, she is a hyper carry, so it comes down to personal preference, like me who don't like Mualani that much, but I do like Chasca when it comes to gameplay, those kind of things, as at the end of the day, she is another Anemo DPS character, so it definitely comes down to whether or not you like her gameplay. Honestly, for Chasca team investment as a whole, she's one of the more free-to-play friendly character, as she utilizes a lot of the 4-star options that you may be having on your account. But talking about a Chasca investment, some of you may be looking into her constellations, where I think it's fine constellation. C1 does, I would say, a bit of a quality of life increase toward Chasca herself, because now basically the second shell is able to undergo elemental conversion. C2 is decently nice, which I think most of you are going to be stopped at a C2 level, where I basically grant Chasca 1 stack of Spirit of the Radiant Shadow, basically allowing her to have full 3 stack of damage bonus, even in teams with one teammate who isn't in Pyro, Hydro, Electro, or Cryo. The constellation also adds more AoE damage into Chasca attack, and also fire an additional AoE shot equals to 400% of her attack with every shot during her elemental skill. So yeah, pretty nice AoE and damage increase for her, even though generally speaking I think she's fine at a C0 level. And of course, a constellation investment are for those of you who really do enjoy Chasca as a character. Which leads us to more of a important matters whenever you are pulling on the banner, are the 4-star characters themselves. Now, this time around we have Bennett, Auron, and Eva. Well, technically in our prediction video, well, we got Bennett right, which is great. I did have a bit of a discussion on Auron and thinking he do have a chance of being here, even though I kind of cross him out. Generally, all of these characters are great, especially, you know, what Bennett, I don't think I have to discuss him. You know, you guys free skin and other stuff that he do, and obviously he's an amazing character in Chasca team, and most of the time you do want that. Other than that, Auron, yeah, what can I say? Obviously an amazing Electro or field support character, especially when you have more of his constellation, he becomes an even better character. I think Auron already has like his second rerun of appearing on the banner, so many of you may already have quite a bit of his constellation. And then other than that, Eva, well, a bit more of a preference character, even though he's fun to play, and especially when considering that he's a more recent new 4-star character, I don't think it's too bad that we have him here. So overall, the 4-star, I would just have to rate it is pretty freaking good on the banner right now. I think they're trying to make the final banner in Natlan to be rather good, which, you know, it's nice, and a good chance for you to, you know, maybe try and snipe a bit of a more Bennett or Auron constellation. Even though if you lose to a 5-star and you get either Mualani and Chasca, it's not the end of the world, because these two characters are really, really nice. On the topic of investment discussion, the weapon banner is available as well. Now, yeah, the Surf Up as well as the Astral Vulture, both of the weapon obviously is made for the 5-star on the banner themselves. But the thing is with Mualani and Chasca, they do have many other weapon options for you guys to be using. I don't think Catalyst and Bold character actually lacks that many weapon options for them to be used specifically. But again, if you do have it, it is great. The weapon aren't too universal. but they can be used on a decent number of character if you do lose to either one of them whenever you're trying to go for a specific weapon on the banner, for example, as both weapon does have crit damage on their secondary stats, so overall it is rather nice. But the more important thing also is going to be on the 4-star options, where they're putting into quite a lot of the recent limited Natlin weapon addition, and I'd say the overall 4-star on these are okay. I wouldn't say they're the best of the best, but they aren't too bad either, where you have like the bow does give you attack in the secondary stat. It does require you to use aim shot in order for you to have your charge attack increase. Now I don't know if this actually works for Chasca, where aim shot during her skill actually is considered as an aim shot. I think it has to be, but it's clear that this bow is really much geared toward bow character who uses their aim shot a lot. So I think this is an okay bow if you do have it. Not the best, but it's not the worst either. The Catalyst has a pretty decent passive where it gives you quite a lot of HP increase, especially when you are using, it is geared toward a bit for Mualani. But the sad thing is that it has energy regen, which is, oh man, I don't know. You're giving us like good passive of HP increase, and then the secondary stat is energy regen. Like, which kind of DPS character would need this at this point? Unless they're focusing on doing elemental burst damage that uses Emblem Fate set, which is kind of weird of a weapon, so it's not really too good on Mualani, as energy regen is kind of like a waste on her. It's not like she's constantly spamming her elemental burst or anything, but the passive is nice. So overall, I think it is an okay catalyst, but then the Claymore is probably the worst of the bunch. You get attack as a secondary stat, but then all of the passive it gives is basically plunging attack. Like, I think the only 2 character that uses this Claymore a lot, if you do have it, it's like Diluc or Garming at the current point. Yeah, maybe you try to avoid this weapon. But then the other part, you do have the Favonius Sword and the Favonius Lance, which are really important weapons. So overall, I think the weapon banner is just fine. The 4-star lineup isn't too good, but wow, if you are already deciding to try and grab the weapons for Mualani or Chasca, I think you would be fine on this weapon. Which leads us to the more important part of any discussion video we usually have, is going to be the future banner discussion. Now, we know obviously that Loma and Flint's is technically going to be right after. What we don't know is, first of all, in which phase they are going to be. There have been information saying that Loma and Flint's are both going to be on the first phase, which obviously I think is stupid, but it happened before with Mavuika and Lali, so it can happen again, which definitely would suck for those of you who want to have both of the character like I do. But looking into the character themselves, Loma is obviously a very important character down the line, if you look into meta-wise, obviously. But also, I think many of us would like to have Loma as well, especially with the fact that she increases Lunar Bloom damage by quite a huge number, and she also opened up newer team comp as well as bring back old Bloom team comps and have Bloom team comps here and there as well. So Loma is definitely going to be a nice character for us to be looking into. Flint's as well, but I think more preference character, as I don't think Flint's is actually looking too good in the beta right now, and many of us might already have a lot of Electro DPS characters, so I think many would be skipping him. But with the fact that he is a husbando 5-star male character that we haven't got in a while, and with the fact that his animation looks pretty cool, I think many of us would try to go for him, which just shows that, the first 2 Not Cry characters are shaping up to be, decently exciting for many of us. Therefore, it is something that you have to look out for and plan your pools efficiently, especially when we don't know the reruns character yet. But I think there are potential that Yelan and Nahida is going to be coming. Yelan is still definitely an absolutely amazing character. Nahida is still on the same boat, but with the fact that Loma is right there, Nahida value should be decreasing quite a bit, especially if you don't have Nahida yet. Many of us might just opt for just getting Loma herself and then build a Dendro team around Loma, because these 2 characters generally does quite the same thing, and we can kind of see that Loma is pretty much an upgrade toward Nahida herself. But that doesn't mean that Nahida is generally bad, because everything that Nahida does is really good, and technically Loma and Nahida can be on the same team, and with those both characters it is really good. So Nahida value is still great. It's not like she's bad or anything, because with all the supportive capability that she has, especially when giving EM, which Loma doesn't activate respectively do. Those two actually complement each other really well, just like how Yelan and Xingqiu can technically be on the same team by doing a ton of sub DPS damage. So those guys, I would say, are some of the discussion point I'd like to make for the second phase banner in patch 5.8. I hope that the video have been helpful to you. If you have any question, leave it down in the comment section, as I or some other lovely Genshin players will get to you there. Again, if you're new to the channel guys, don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on my future Genshin videos. With that, I wish you a super day and I'll catch you on my next video.